Senators look to utilities for the first stage of a carbon cap. Why the power sector says that proposal makes sense. On World Water Day, the EPA issues stricter drinking water standards, and it gets more than 35 miles a gallon and could be in your rearview mirror very soon. Meet the first environmentally friendly police cruiser.
From the Energy News Center in Washington, D.C., this is the Energy Report with Susan McGinnis.
Good afternoon, I'm Susan McGinnis. Thanks for joining us for the Energy Report. With more meetings scheduled among industry leaders and lawmakers this week, senators could release their draft climate bill as soon as Friday. Co-author John Kerry has said that is probably the earliest the draft would be ready for the Congressional Budget Office. One of the details released about the draft last week is that the power sector would be the first to face a cap on carbon emissions. The Kerry-Graham-Lieberman bill would bring utilities under an emission reduction system starting in 2012. Today we talked with Steve Cornelli of NRG Energy about the proposal and last week's closed-door meeting about the draft. He says the power sector is especially well equipped to be the first to face that carbon cap.
Starting with the utilities and the power sector makes sense because A, we've already had a cap and trade system for SO2. We know how to work it, we know how to deal with it. And B, many of us in the power sector, including NRG, are actually taking real aggressive steps now to invest in low carbon technology, exploring offset opportunities, and really getting ready for a trading emission system as we anticipate they'll provide.
And we have more of Steve Cornelli's conversation with Clean Sky's Tyler Suiters here on our website, including why a White House plan to help retire older coal plants could be part of the Senate climate bill. It's all right here at cleanskies.com. Well, many are observing World Water Day today, and EPA took it as an opportunity to announce it's cracking down on contaminated drinking water. Today, EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson told U.S. water suppliers at their annual meeting in Washington the agency wants to change the way it protects drinking water in 4 major ways. Jackson says she wants to group together carcinogens that contaminate drinking water instead of analyzing one chemical at a time. She says the agency will start using better water treatment technologies and work more closely with states to monitor water quality. EPA is also encouraging the private sector to step in with new technology innovation. Jackson says the 1974 Safe Drinking Water Act moved the country forward to protect drinking water, but now there's a new challenge. Other chemicals are seeping into the nation's water supply.
While we've cut the flow of many conventional pollutants into our tap water sources, we now face challenges from other pollutants from less conventional sources. Not the visible oil slicks and industrial waste of the past, but the invisible pollutants that have only recently been available for us to see thanks to advanced science. There are a range of chemicals that have become more prevalent in our products and in our water, our bodies in the last 50 years. And those many thousands of chemicals are the great unfinished business of the 1974 Act.
And the EPA says it is unclear to what extent the new approach to protect drinking water will affect the electric utility, oil and gas or coal sectors. EPA says the new technologies it's looking into will help those sectors comply. The administration is stepping up efforts to show how climate change can affect local communities over the short term. The Energy and Agriculture departments have teamed up with the National Science Foundation to create high-resolution computer models to show the effects of climate change in various local communities over the short term. Leaders from the 2 departments and the NSF say this modeling will help policymakers prepare vulnerable communities to try to adapt to the effects of climate change. NSF is investing $30 million, DOE is putting in $10 million, USDA is investing $9 million. All of that will be pooled together for grants for scientists around the world to help them with this modeling. The 5-year program will run from fiscal 2010 to fiscal 2014. China's nuclear power generating capacity will grow to at least 80 gigawatts by 2020, up from 9 right now. This is double the level announced earlier by Beijing. The announcement was made by the deputy head of China's National Energy Administration. A record number of new nuclear projects have been approved there since early last year, but the new goal would require completing 6 to 8 units a year, way beyond what's been planned so far. The government also announced that it plans to increase hydropower capacity 37% 9% to 270 gigawatts by the year 2020. And offshore wind power could supply all of North Carolina's energy needs. This is coming from a new study by the University of North Carolina. It's also more ambitious than the state's announced plans of having 12.5% of its power come from renewable energy sources by 2021. Researchers found the state has some of the best offshore wind speeds in the country and identified Onslow Bay and Raleigh Bay, about 20 miles off the coastline, as the best locations to capture wind power. The study also considered the ecological impact to animals, the fishing industry, and offshore views. Plans are in the works for Duke Energy to build 3 pilot offshore wind turbines in state waters. Well, meet the newest clean, green crime-fighting machine. This is the Carbon Motors E7, a custom-built police car that will be rolling off the assembly lines in Connersville, Indiana in 2013. Today, officials with Carbon Motors signed a deal with BMW to put clean-burning diesel engines inside these new cars. The engines made in Austria will average 35 miles a gallon, compared to less than a dozen for a conventional V8 police cruiser, also cut down on greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon Motors officials and Indiana's senior Senator Richard Lugar are pushing for DOE to finalize a $310 million loan to the company, which will reopen an old Visteon plant and build the new squad cars.
Our country is staring at a nationwide fleet of over 450,000 imported law enforcement vehicles that, by some accounts, are averaging a horrifying 11 miles per gallon and consuming over 1.5 billion gallons of gasoline and emitting over 14 million tons of CO2 annually. The Carbon E7 will cut these figures by up to 40% and will be built on U.S. soil.
And Carbon Motors says it has 13,000 orders for the new cars. You can see Dan Goldstein's full report on the E7 on our website here at cleanskies.com. Meantime, Chrysler said today it's bringing an all-electric version of its Fiat 500 compact to the U.S. in 2012. The plug-in version will hit showrooms after a gasoline version hits the streets at the end of next year. No word yet on the cost or the range of this electric version. Chrysler also said today it's dropping plans to develop a hybrid version of its 2011 Ram pickup truck. Well, you may remember Thor Heyerdahl's famous Kon-Tiki will now meet Plastiki. Banking heir David de Rothschild and his crew of 6 left San Francisco Bay on Saturday on an 11,000 nautical mile journey to Sydney, Australia. The 60-foot catamaran is made from more than 12,000 recycled plastic bottles and gets its power from renewable energy, including a wind turbine and a solar panel. The team will blog regular updates from a laptop powered by an exercise bike. There's even a composting bathroom on board and a hydroponic rotating cylinder garden to grow fresh vegetables. De Rothschild hopes the trip will raise awareness of how plastic waste is poisoning the oceans. In the past, he has trekked to both the North and South Poles to highlight climate issues. Let's take a look now at some energy goings-on around the Beltway tomorrow. 9 a.m. leaders of the Large Public Power Council talk about the role of federal incentives in assisting public power meet renewable energy goals. That's happening at the National Press Club. 10 a.m. House Energy and Commerce Committee meets to talk about oversight of FERC. FERC Chairman John Wellinghoff, other FERC commissioners will be there to testify. That's happening in Rayburn. 12:30, natural gas industry leaders will discuss their 2010 outlook at the AGA's Natural Gas Roundtable. That's at the University Club. And that is the Energy Report. We'll see you again tomorrow with your latest energy news. For any suggestions or comments about our programming on Clean Skies News, we'd like to hear from you. You can email us at contact@cleanskies.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, too. From all of us here in the Energy News Center, good night.